Thursday in late July. I've come back. I've got 5 days or 5 nights ahead of me, or four, possibly 5, depending on what I can wing with work. I'm fishing the 150 acre pit that I fished last summer. Remember, I had 2 nights on there, on here. I had a couple of 30s. But I've done a lap of the lake on the bike. There are 12 carp anglers on. It's pretty stitched up, to be honest. You might say that's not many for 150 acres of water, but when people have all got boats and they're boating baits sort of 100, 150 yards in all directions, it can become pretty stitched up pretty quickly. I've basically found the only quiet bay on the lake. It's basically the most horrible place to fish. It's boulders, so it's very difficult to set up. And there's a big reed line that almost kind of sections it off from the rest of the lake. And I think a lot of people think that the carp don't come around here. But anyway, I did a lap of the lake. I wasn't any better off after the lap, so I came into this quiet bay. I brought loads of particles with me, 3 big buckets of hot hemp, white haze and various kind of pigeon mix type baits. And the plan was, because of all the poisson chat so active at this time of year, the plan was to fish particles. I've brought 15 kilos of 18mm live system as well with me. Coming to this bay just as I was setting up, would you believe it, a big one just bossed no more than 10 yards out right in front of me. So I'm not going to go out in the boat. I don't want to disturb it with the boat. So I've just flicked 3 rods out with 5 to 10 baits around each. Straight out. One landed nice and firm on the gravel. 2 landed semi-soft, so it's probably in light weed. I'm leaving them for about 2 or 3 hours. The carp's bossed again, so I've got the camera on it at the moment. I'm hoping for some action fairly quickly, but as I said, this lake's getting more and more pressured these days. There's 12 on. We're on a Thursday, and so you can imagine what the weekend's going to be like. The plan is to stay in this. If I can dominate this bay, at least that'll give me the chance over the Friday and the Saturday night. Right, well, it's evening of day 1. I got here 4 hours ago. Sun's just going down now. I had all the best intentions of not using the boat. Obviously I got hit by the boat, but I had the idea that I wasn't going to use the boat and I was just going to scatter bait out because they were fishing the area, but that plan's been blown. I've got a guy over here. He came into the bay with his boat to see if there was any free water. He says there's 14 people on the lake now, so it's just getting busier and busier down here for a Thursday night. So he went back and forwards with the boat. I told him roughly where my baits were going to be. So basically this lovely little bay that I thought I was going to have to myself's got an extra 3 or 4 lines in it. So I've gone out in the boat and I've found 3 clear spots. I've gone back to my original tactics. I've probably put about 2 kilos of particle on each rod. 1 single white tiger nut on 2 rods, and I've got a snowman boilie presentation on the other. All the boilies that I wound in have been nibbled at by the poisson chat, so they're obviously very active in the area. Incidentally, there's a fella just further down who I met on one of the local rivers to here a couple of years ago. He's been on here 4 months, would you believe? And with this sort of pressure, it just takes the edge off it a bit for me. When you've got a guy just further down that's been here 4 months, it's like, well, surely I can find somewhere a little bit less busy than this. Anyway, 3 rods are in position. Confidence from earlier has been shattered since this guy's come into the bay. I reckon my best chance is probably first light now. Mozzies are out in force. First bite of the night there. I'm going to have to get some jungle formula on. of the car. It's not on the roof this time. I've managed to just about squeeze it in there. I've taken a bit of air out. I just want to be a little bit wary of the corners of those, the wheel arches there on the inside. Right, 2 nights, complete and utter blank, loads of lines in the water, 14 anglers on. Just spoken to the 2 Dutch boys here. They've been here 5 nights, they've had 2 carp, 14 and 18 kilos, so I've made the right decision, I've got no doubt about that. It's time to get cracking. Here the staple food bait for the front of the swim, which is 18mm live system. I've used it here before to very good effect. 18 is probably a little bit smaller, probably rather with the 24s, but this wasn't my plan for the trip. And we've got on this side pigeon mix, which is essentially a mixture of white haze, maple peas and maize. It's been boiled up for the best part of an hour. Which is a little bit more than what's the recommended amount. The reason for that, I like it to go real dark, pulpy, really give off the juices, all start cracking up. This is being fed into the back of the swim in the narrow channel, which I've never fished before, but it might be worth a rod tomorrow. So I'm putting a lot of this in over the back, probably no more than 2 or 3 meters out in the flow, with the hope that maybe the odd carp that will go round the back there might have some. I dare not put any of this in the front of the swim. The chub and the bream and the barbel will go mad for it. I'm in on the long range rod, fishing in 22 foot of water in the current. Always going to be in the current in this weather. Caught on a snag. I've already lost one out there. I think it was a barbel on a snag where it cut me off. But we've got here, we're off the mark. Small common. I've weighed it, it's 19 pounds. I always like to weigh the first fish just to get a feel for what I'm looking at. I'm not bothered too much about the weight, but there we go, 19 pounds off the mark. Beauty. Just checking the line after that fish. See, there's a bit. It's gone round something. You've got to be so careful. This is I'm fishing with 18-pound power carp, which is pretty much the strongest on the market, and it's frayed to buggery. That you've just got to be so careful. That fish must have gone round a branch, a boulder, something like that. But better be safe than sorry. I'm going to strip probably 15-20 yards of line off, and then have another feel to see how frayed it is there. Got to go in. Whoa, it's flying. It's a good one. Right, well, it's just on dusk. Absolute one-toner from the deep water. They're obviously out in the deeper water, and there's me thinking it's only going to be small commons and mirrors out in the deep water. That was a slightly better carp. It was in poor condition. Whether those cuts and bruises on its stomach on both sides and damaged pectoral fins were to do with the spawning in the stones, I don't know. Basically, it was 38 pounds or just over. Which is a great carp. I'm happy with that. 2 nights blanking on the other place, and it's only a short trip. It's a long drive down. You're thinking, oh, was this worth it? Is this going to be a good idea? But that's a decent carp, 38 pound from the river. It was pleasing to see photos of the same fish caught the following year by Dutch angler Ruud Hageman. You can see here that the spawning scars had completely healed. I'm trying to mix it up as much as possible. I've got them at various ranges, from out here just into the ripple over the shelf, no more than 15 yards out, then 40 yards out in the real deep water, then it comes up, then I've got a rod at about 60 yards out, which comes up to about 10-12 foot, and then it goes down in deep, sort of probably about 120, 140 metres out on the 2 rods that have been boated out, possibly even a bit more than that, and then it drops right down to 20-25 foot in places, but very fortunately that one got around a snag. I had to go out in the boat. It was around 2 snags, but I think they're either boulders or they're just sticks like that, because both times the moment you get over the top it pings off. Thank goodness. Yeah, so two carp, 1 small cat, bream and a barbel to show in an afternoon's fishing. I've actually stopped feeding the 18mm baits. It's almost like pellet, you're putting it in. I just had that bream on a double 20mm yellow bait that was left over from last year. I've got a load of air dried 24mm live system and Odyssey Triple X left over from the spring. It's rock hard now. At least when it's that hard, these bream and the barbel, I mean the barbel still take them, no problem, but at least you're guaranteeing that they're going to be out there a little bit longer. And this bait, once it's in the water a little while, it does soften up very quickly. But my line of thinking is that a 20 kilo plus isn't going to bat 2 eyelids about a few hard 20mm boilies. It will take them straight back. Oh yeah, I was lightly baiting. I've probably only put 15 24mm baits out on each rod. I'm absolutely convinced that the less bait you stand less chance of getting into the shoals and getting real big hits, but you've got a much better chance. You've got a much better chance of one of the bigger ones. I'm sure they shy away from it when there are a lot of fish of any sort feeding. They'll just sit back. Whereas if you've only got a few baits out there, the small fish haven't honed into the feeding. They're not all swimming around, and a big one might just swim through and pick them up without any sort of disruption from other fish. Anyway, I'm getting lots of rises and falls. I'm almost that's just the current. It's just very gradually up and down as it moves around in the current. You know when it's a take, that's for sure. Right, time for a beer. Another inch on the waistline. Let's give this a go. Right, first night last night on the river. As I said, I didn't put a lot of bait in. Broken eggshell there, snail shell. I didn't put much bait in, I only had 2 takes. One lost where it started, oh my god, unbelievable. amount of shell here. Little crustaceans. It's obviously been feeding hard. And then, anyway, I lost one. And then I had this nice common. There we go. 27 pounds. Never seen so many marks on these carp. Loads of marks on their stomachs. Can only assume that's from the spawning. As I said, came on the long range rod and then just a couple of barbel and one fish lost where basically the hook just popped out no more than 3 or 4 seconds into the first run. It was a very slow take as well, which is a bit disappointing because that tends to mean a better carp. Anyway, let's get this fish back. I'm gonna take 3 rods with me and move up to the point there where I can fish in the deeper water. I'll just pack it away a little bit and shelter most of the gear from the sunlight because it's going to be blistering hot. Oh. Funny, a couple of years ago when I was here, this whole area was covered in kind of shrubs and grass at exactly the same time of year 2 years ago. So, because of the such a savage winter we had with all the flooding and everything over here, it's basically just wiped everything out. I mean, it almost looks like they've had an excavator on here and they've mowed it all down, but it's not the case. It's definitely just the fact that it's been underwater with a real constant hard flow over the top of it for so long, all the way through the winter. I think it's only sort of May time the water level went back down to its normal height. This whole island was underwater. Looks funny, doesn't it? anyway, there's me checking out and see if there's any eye candy on the far bank, sunbathing. The left-hand rod is absolutely one-toned. No surprise, didn't think it was going to be a big fish judging by the speed of the take. It's a double-figure common, but welcome anyway. As I said, this was fished in the fastest water, in the real shallower, stony stuff you can see over there, real proper barbel country. So I'm pretty surprised that this one ripped off. But anyway, it's the first fish of the day, which is a result. I guess it's about, judging by the sun's position, about 3 to 4 o'clock now. Right, let's get this baby back. Right, well, that's the boat back into position and the rod set. I've just had 2 in the last 45 minutes, both small. One low 20 common, one probably upper double mirror. The baiting during the days obviously paid off a little bit. I would have thought the carp had the odd one in between the barbel munching them. And just regularly baiting, regularly keeping it going in. Don't get me wrong, I don't think I'm going to get a big carp doing this, but at least I'm going to get some action. Hopefully when I move back down at night, I've got a chance of a bigger carp after dark. Both of the fish that I've hooked, they must have taken 200 yards on their initial run. With this current, it's impossible to play these fish from the bank. Both went through a snag, albeit a small snag. Once you've pinged off it, you're away again with it. But I've been landing these fish no more than 20 yards from the far bank, and this is the best part of 200-300 yards wide. Unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. I don't think the big carp will run like that. I think they'll be slow, they'll be steady. Don't get me wrong, they'll take line, but they won't. I'm almost certain they won't go on these blistering runs like these other ones do. Right, that'll do for now. These guys have got a cat on. Oh my good God, that looks absolutely ginormous. Now that is what you call a silure.
A silure.
Unbelievable. Not quite 2 meters, no.
2 mètres 8.
Wow, c'est bon. Wow.
Bon ça.
Combien de kilos?
55.
55, wait.
56.
I've caught bigger than this before.
55.
Well, that's been just about as hard with the van down here. Good job I've got a key. Doing anything in this heat is just unbearable. It must be 34, 35 degrees. It's almost like a heat wave hitting Europe. Anyway, it's about 11 o'clock. Complete blank night. just no carp in the area, I don't think. So in 2 nights here I've had 6 carp up to 38 pounds. Considering how hot it is, I'm not going to complain one bit. I'm pleased to have caught a tool, to be honest with you. I've got 1 night to go. I need to get a little bit close to Calais. So I'm going to head up and I'm going to check out one of the real big inland seas in central France. Just going to have a look around really, check out some of the access areas. Incidentally, I've just seen some small commons spawning in the weed just out here. In late July they're still spawning hard. So all those marks we were seeing on the bellies of the carp and on their stomachs was clearly where they've been spawning. That's why they damage themselves. They're spawning. It's all these stones in real shallow water. Fish of any sort of size whacking themselves against all of that are going to do some damage to themselves. Right, it's got to go. Bye. Seven o'clock on Monday night. As I said, I've stopped off on the way back. I'm about 5 hours from Calais, at one of the big reservoirs. I've probably spent about 2 hours looking at places for access. I got down to the water. On the main body of the lake there were water sports going on everywhere, and it was quite difficult access to get the boat out and everything, and with only 1 night to go, I mean, this really is a recce for this sort of fishing. It's certainly not gonna, you aren't gonna fall on them on 1 night. But anyway, I found I'm really struggling with the heat today. I'm drenched through. To be barrowing gear around in the midday heat of about 35 degrees. I'm honestly suffering from heat exhaustion. I just had to crash out in the I had to crash out. I thought I was going to give myself a heart attack. I had to crash out in the mud just to cool myself off. It's not like on the river that I was on where you could just dive in. It's just too hot, and even under the brolly it just seems to magnify the heat. I'm just losing so much body fluid. But anyway, I seem to have cooled off a bit and my head's a little bit more with it now. But anyway, I'm in this very shallow back bay. I thought they were carp moving. I thought, well, if the fish on the river were spawning, then maybe they're having a late spawn here. Highly unlikely, but honestly thought there were carp in here. But looking at it again and again, the water movement's just not big enough for a carp. You know, the rocking sensation. By the way, you've never seen so many horseflies here. We've got a storm brewing. At least that'll cool the temperature down a bit, hopefully. But anyway, I thought they were carp. I just put my lightest leads I could find on. Just dropped them out with 10 baits around each. Oh, he's landed on the camera. Flipping horseflies. He's coming back for more. You've never seen so many horseflies. Fortunately, they're quite slow flying, so you can normally swat them before they bite. Anyway, that could be it for this short session. We'll have to see. Anyway, time to lie down. Right, surprise, surprise. Oh, look at the state of me. Surprise, surprise, blank night. Never ever seen so many biting insects in my life. I'm going now because the sun's not quite up yet. I'm leaving now because most of these bloody insects haven't woken up yet. You learn I'm fishing in about a foot and a half of water on a lake of well over, is it? A lake of, I think it's over 1,000 acres. I'll have to check it out on the map, but on Google. But this would be a great spot. I know from sources that the carp do spawn down here. We're probably about a month late. You live and you learn. If you didn't go through these scenarios, you would never catch anything, would